Good afternoon. Welcome to Drive Time Sports in the Buzz Radio Network. Rick Schaeffer standing by Northwest Arkansas. I'm Randy Rainwater from the capital city. Good afternoon, Mr. Rick Schaeffer.
Good afternoon, Randy Rainwater. What a glorious Thursday it is. Absolutely beautiful, mid-80s. Really a super day.
It is warm here in central Arkansas, but that's okay. Yeah. 90 degrees when I checked a few moments ago. And
it's middle of June. It's okay, right?
Well, I guess so.
What did you expect, 45?
Well, why not? No, not 45. No, that's okay. I mean, it's as you said, it's June. So, and really, I wanted to start that way so that I could get the proper dialogue from you, just so I could upset Snoring Bob, and we wouldn't immediately talk about anything that's that's Razorback related. Hard to believe after all the time, through all of the regular season, then your regionals, super regionals, tomorrow, the College World Series starts.
Yeah, and it's a really balanced field. I think you've got some teams like Wake Forest, hadn't won since 1955. TCU, I don't think they've ever won. Maybe they have a long time ago, but we know how good they are. Oral Roberts, first time they've been there in a long time.
Since 78.
Yeah, Florida obviously has been there. LSU has been there. Tennessee, everybody thought last year they were the best team in the country. They didn't get there. Tennessee followed the same path Arkansas did. Number one in the country for the whole year, didn't make the College World Series. The next year they did. Well, that's what Tennessee's done. Didn't make it last year. This year they have. The NCAA pairs them to where they have to play LSU in the first game. I know that with that many SEC teams in there, there's 10, that you're going to have some teams playing each other. But do you think the NCAA is intentional about trying to make sure that there aren't too many SEC teams in the finals? That's where you see LSU.
Well, we've always thought that way when it came to college football.
Yeah.
They tried to figure out a way to make sure that the SEC, heaven forbid, didn't really want two in there, but surely to not have it where three could be in there.
Yeah.
And that hasn't happened yet, but two has happened more than once. But no, today was also a day of celebration in Denver. The Nuggets, they had their celebration parade, and I'd like to know, maybe I don't want to know, maybe I just don't go to Denver. Did you realize, Rick, after the championship was won the other night, now they claimed that this was meth related, and I don't know if the individual or individuals were on methamphetamine, but 12 people were shot. Well, they had the parade today. 2 more people were shot today. What is going on?
I don't know.
I mean, there are some cities that you might think, and I realize Columbine goes back a long time ago, but I never thought of Denver as being a violent city.
No, you don't. Gosh, and why is it, and Denver's not the first, that celebrating a championship means shooting somebody? Because that's not celebrating. That's really bad stuff. So, yeah, let's see. Arkansas played in the Final Four in Denver in 1990. I'm trying to think. They also played in a regional there later than that, 97, 98, somewhere in there.
Yep, I was there.
And I'm trying to think if we've been to Denver for anything else. I don't think so. So that's the last time in Colorado for me. And gosh, Denver was a nice city. I remember we stayed downtown. You could walk around where the Rockies play is right down in town. Really a nice ballpark, nice setting.
Mm-hmm.
You see the Rocky Mountains from Denver. So no, I think of Denver as being a pretty nice place.
Yeah. Well, back in the days when Denver was in the Sun Belt, many opportunities I had to go to Denver, whether it be with UALR or Arkansas State. I always loved it when we went out there.
Yeah.
And most times when we traveled, I would get a rental car just so I could move around. Because normally you were there for a couple of days. And I love visiting cities like that just to get a feel for the community, for the area, whatever it may be, because you never know when you'll be back.
Right.
And a lot of times, if you were playing Colorado State, you flew into Denver and then you bus to Fort Collins for the game. Never played Air Force there in Colorado. But anyway, just shocking. I guess that's the best way I can describe it. That you had 12 shootings after the celebration of the championship the other night. And now you've had 2 people shot today, and there may be more. For all we know.
Gosh, you just hate it. Hate seeing people shot. I don't get it.
Nor do I.
Yeah.
All right, here's some Snoring Bob related Arkansas news.
Okay.
We knew the other day that Courtney Deifel was able to pick up a huge transfer from Iowa. That was a position player. That was grad transfer outfielder Nia Carter. Well, today, Southern Mississippi graduate transfer pitcher Morgan Linestock. And she had a 2.65 ERA during her time at Southern Miss. Last year, she led the Eagles in Golden Eagles in wins with 13 appearances, 34 strikeouts, 185, ERA 2.56, 17 complete games. Opponents had a batting average of 232. And obviously, Arkansas is in need of senior pitching because they could be very young next year, still on the mound or in the circle, as they say in softball. A chance there for this young lady to step in and could be the ace of the staff, Morgan Linestock. So that is the second grad transfer that Arkansas has been able to add to the roster.
Grad transfers. Every sport's got them.
Got them.
It's a big deal. Yeah.
Got them. And speaking of celebrations, I don't know that there'll be a monster ceremony. Right now, you're in it's the mandated mini camps, but the Kansas City Chiefs are set to get their Super Bowl ring tonight. Now, I know in college athletics, there is a cap on how much you can spend on rings.
Yeah.
Do you know, Rick, is there a cap on how much an NFL or MLB or
why would there be?
I don't know. I'm just asking.
I guess ownership can spend whatever they want to. No, some of those things are pretty gaudy.
Yeah.
Can't wear them. They're too big. Even for those big, guys with huge hands, they're just ridiculous. And so really what they are is trophies. I'm sure a lot of those guys seriously put them in trophy case, put them in some kind of case.
Well, that's true. That's true in that
something
regard.
Like that, because they're, number one, they're really too big to wear. Number two, they're way too gaudy to wear. And number three, even though you're a football player, you're just a target if you're walking around with a piece of jewelry like that on. So I'm sure most of them have them in somewhere at home. Don't you think?
It'd be in a vault.
Yeah, I never see anybody wearing them. I've seen a World Series ring or two. Occasionally you'll see broadcasters that'll wear them, but not for long. I can remember when we won the national championship, because I was broadcasting, I was sports information director, and that was a really nice ring, and it wasn't, gaudy or anything, but I probably wore it for a few months, but that was, you start putting those things away.
I probably am mistaken in what I'm about to say, I would want a ring that I could wear every day.
Really?
Yeah. Not one that, as you mentioned, you need a forklift to pick it up and put it on your finger. But I mean, something I could wear every day. I mean, it's a. I realize the value of these rings have reached the point that you can't go out in public out of the fear that someone may want to cut it off your finger.
Yeah.
But I would just, I don't know. I've got a couple of championship rings, and the most simplistic ring that I have that I would still feel comfortable every day wearing, believe it or not, was the championship ring from 1983 when Cabot defeated Rivercrest in the state championship game. And the reason why I say I'm comfortable wearing that, it looks like a high school graduation ring. There's nothing gaudy about it.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
but then over the years, when I had a chance for some other rings, they got bigger and bigger and bigger. Maybe at the collegiate level, they weren't loaded down with real diamonds, and they were worth hundreds, who knows how many thousands of dollars, maybe not hundreds of thousands, but maybe 5, 10, who knows, thousands of dollars. But anyway, that is those days are over, because they are bigger. They get bigger, at least at the professional level. They get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Let's start the day with Navy Mike. Mike, you kind of got people stirred up yesterday. You know that?
I had no idea.
I mean, I know you
Yes,
never
we did.
do
That's
that.
your intent every
You
day. We get
no,
that.
he does. Mike never intends on getting
my
things.
God.
No,
stirred up.
I just give an honest take, on stuff. I'm not a sunshine pumper. I'm not a homer. I speak on, if it's real, it's real. It's realistic. It's realistic.
Yeah.
But that, is, and generally speaking, though, it is your opinion. That's the thing. It is your opinion.
Well, I look, Randy. When I call in, I don't just spout random facts. Based on opinions, I back myself up with numbers. I make sure my numbers are right every single time I call.
Good.
That I do that. But it's interesting, Randy. The schedule came out last night. It was on not the schedule, but as Joe made a point, and Joe made a great point last show. It's not a schedule. It's just the opponent. Your opponent's slate.
You don't know how they're going. You don't know how they're going to land. Right. You don't know what.
Right. There's
order.
there's no dates attached to those yet.
Right.
So it's not
Correct.
a schedule, but it's your slate. Your ACC slate. And on Twitter, people are saying, well, we finally catch a break. The SEC's been, they're always against us, giving us this tough schedule. Well, also on the last show, Brandon Marcello, who writes for 247 Sports, he said that, and this is a guy who covers Arkansas sports. He said it's interesting how Hog fans always think they're getting slighted by the SEC. If anybody has a complaint about that, it's not Arkansas, it's Vanderbilt. Year in, year out, you don't get it worse. Nobody gets it worse than they do. That's why Arkansas always wants to play them. That's why every team wants to play them, And what's crazy is, Arkansas fans, they're opinionated about getting shafted on schedules. Well, they joined in 1992. Vanderbilt is a founding flagship member of the SEC back in 1932.
Right.
So they've been dealing with quote unquote tough SEC scheduling for 91 years. So you can't, and also Arkansas's first 10 years in the league, 92 to 2002, they won the West 3 times. And in that span, they had 4 different head coaches.
Well, Vanderbilt this year.
Jack Crow, Joe Kahn, Danny West, and Houston Nutt.
Danny Ford.
Yeah.
So,
well,
right.
Mike,
So there's not really much room for Arkansas to complain about scheduling. That's from Marcel and Brandon Marcello, not just me.
Yeah, and he doesn't cover Arkansas; he covers the SEC.
Thank you, Mike.
But Vanderbilt this year plays the East, so it's divisions. So they're going to play the East every year. This year they're playing Ole Miss and Auburn. So they didn't get Alabama and they didn't get LSU. But what I guess Brandon Marcello was referring to is whoever Vanderbilt plays is usually better than they are. So no matter what their schedule is, it's going to be tough, right? I guess. But yeah, Vanderbilt's usually they're regarded as the tail end of the SEC. Thank goodness, Arkansas is not in that position. So anyway, but no, we talked about it yesterday. I think the 2024 schedule is probably as nice a schedule for Arkansas as we've seen since they've been in the SEC.
Yeah, you'd almost use the word fair.
Yeah, no Alabama, no Georgia.
Yeah, I started to say only Texas A&M is the only other school for 2024 that did not draw either Alabama or Georgia. And I was looking at CBS Sports, Barrett Salim, and he did his rankings of the team's conference slate from the toughest to the easiest. He is saying that Arkansas has the easiest schedule of all 16.
Really?
And he's saying that Oklahoma has the hardest schedule of all 16. Yet I've seen other opinions saying that both Oklahoma and Texas drew the hardest schedules. I would say if you did not have, and we talked about this at length yesterday, if you don't have Alabama and Georgia on your schedule in the same season, that's one reason why it's either going to be judged or graded as either the hardest or the easiest. If you don't have them on your schedule, oh, you got the easiest schedule out there. Look, you don't have to play Alabama. You don't have to play Georgia. But you can't escape LSU. You can't escape Florida. You can't escape Tennessee. When it was first announced, Rick, last night, I was thinking, man, what a tough home schedule for Arkansas.
Texas, LSU, Mississippi, Tennessee. That it is.
That's tough.
But
then you go on the road. Arkansas goes on the road.
Yes,
it's a little bit easier.
Right. That's right. Plus A&M's a neutral game. So yeah, no, you're right. That's why it's not as difficult. But the thing about it is, if you're in the SEC, no schedule is easy. So when a guy says it's the easiest schedule in the SEC, compared to the rest of the country, it's not an easy schedule.
Mm-hmm.
You just mentioned you're still playing Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, and Tennessee at home.
Right.
But the fact that your road games are less difficult, of course, calling the Missouri game for Arkansas less difficult at Columbia is ridiculous because Arkansas never
haven't won there yet. Exactly. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let's talk with Ryan. Ryan, good afternoon. Welcome to Drive Time Sports.
How's it going?
What's up, buddy?
That was my whole bit. Just kind of taking issue with what old Nate and Mike had to say. So never mind the fact that we've played 6 times at Florida, or in the 6 times that we've played Florida, or however many it is, they've come to Fayetteville twice in the last 25 years, and we've gone there as many times as we had. And he's talking about Vanderbilt. Well, here's the thing with Vanderbilt. The reason why their schedule's so tough is up till recently, in most reasons, they haven't put any kind of emphasis on football. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. So I think that's a terrible example. You're talking about a school that is more concentrated on academics than they are sports outside of baseball. But that's my 2 cents. I hope you'll have a great day and go Hogs.
Well, I think they put emphasis on football, but it's not the same
as of late.
Hey, and the hard thing is, the really hard thing is, and Arkansas has experienced this. When you're not in the top 3 or 4 of a conference, particularly one like the SEC, it's already hard enough to move up. But in the recruiting circles, you're almost regarded as not even being hardly an SEC team if you're Vanderbilt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, plus, I assume their academic standards, everybody thinks they're higher. I'm also told that Vanderbilt can get you, if they think you can play, they'll get you in. So it's not like that's impossible or anything. Obviously, there are fewer scholarships involved in baseball, basketball, which they've been pretty good at times. But when baseball, they're always good at. but it's just really hard. And when we talk about the lack of depth in Arkansas's program, so there are years where Arkansas starters are as good as just about anybody else in the SEC. But all it takes is a couple of injuries, and you don't have the same number twos that Alabama and Georgia and LSU have. Well, for Vanderbilt, they don't have the same starters that a lot of those schools have, and they sure don't have the number twos if somebody gets hurt. I'm talking about quality players.
Sure. In 2024, Vanderbilt's schedule, again by Barrett Sallee of CBS Sports, he has it number 6. Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, at Auburn, at LSU, at Kentucky, at Missouri. I don't think, not that they were given the ultimate cream of the crop, but I don't think they did Vandy any favorites. That's a pretty good schedule, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Rick Schaeffer. I'm Randy Rainwater. Drive Time Sports will continue in just one moment. Drive Time Sports in the Buzz Radio Network. Rick Schaeffer. I'm Randy Rainwater. Glad you're with us today. 150-166-11037. It is the summer of 1,000 engagement sale. That's ongoing right now at Robert Irwin Jewelers, the number one place to buy diamond engagement rings. You're going to get choices, options, choices. And if you can dream it, Robert Irwin Jewelers can make it. Now, Robert Irwin Jewelers can make your engagement ring from a picture or from a drawing, making it possible for you to create a ring that is uniquely yours. Now, here's the great thing about the summer of 1,000 engagement sale. You can ask her now and pay later. Great financing options like 24 months deferred interest or take up to 60 months to pay at a low APR. And for a limited time, you save up to 40% off ready-to-wear diamond engagement rings. In fact, this may be the time you want to add on to that engagement ring. If you're already married, you can have an engagement ring. Want to upgrade it? Robert Irwin Jewelers can help you with that also. 2 locations in the Central Arkansas area, McCain Mall in North Little Rock, and the new location in the Pleasant Ridge Town Center. That's next to the Fresh Market out in West Little Rock. Bigger, brighter diamonds, better prices. Robert Irwin Jewelers are online at rijewelers.com. Okay, there is some Asher Record Service Company live fan feedback I need to get to in a moment. Same thing with our First Arkansas Bank and Trust Buzz text line. But first, let's talk with Chuck. Chuck, good afternoon. Welcome to Drive Time Sports.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I want to take issue with Coast Guard Mickey.
Coast Guard Mickey? I like it.
Yeah, I was going to say Coast Guard Auxiliary, but I thought that might be sexist. So, while Vanderbilt was playing all those football games, wasn't Arkansas playing football too?
Yes.
I mean, we're against teams like Texas A&M, TCU, SMU, back when those 2 schools ran the Southwest Conference. Right. Houston, when it was really good, plus a bowl game just about every year against a really good team.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, I just wanted to bring that out to him, make sure he understands that. I might have to call in another day and repeat it for him. But anyway, y'all have a good show today.
Thank you, Chuck.
All right, Chuck, thanks.
Okay, I'll put that down on my calendar as a reminder to look for Chuck's phone call. All right, let's start with a little bit from our Asher Record Service Company live fan feedback while Rick is...
you could hear that. I'm sorry. I tried to move my microphone away from my mouth there.
That's okay. I know you get choked up over the things that Mike says. Lyndon Sherwood says, a lot of, people say, a lot. However, Navy Mike is, the only person I've heard that will, end the phrase of 3 or 4 words with, and starts the next 2 or 3 word phrase, with, Okay, Thank you, Lynn. Keith.
That is, I must say, and I use it occasionally, not frequently, but occasionally. It's a total waste of words. And I'm not picking on Mike. This is for anybody. Because if then why do I need to tell you?
Well, yeah.
Right.
And
that's, and again, I'm not picking on Mike on that because a lot of people do that. And
I know,
Yes.
Okay.
You're a funny human being.
This from Keith. He says, hey, Colorado, especially Denver, marijuana is legal there. Plus, there are a lot of hoods like Memphis has. Well, I don't know that for a fact about hoods, and I'm guessing that is true. Denver
Yeah,
legalized,
Colorado is
yeah,
legalized.
legalized
Yeah, that's right.
marijuana. So
Yeah.
I don't know about the hood part. Larry says, so are you complaining that, okay, so are you complaining that our schedule too hard?
No,
No, our
no,
schedule too hard? No.
no. It's an SEC schedule. Look, it's an SEC. Any SEC schedule is going to be difficult now because of who the East opponents have been, and the West is so strong. Arkansas's schedule the last 2 or 3 years has been ranked the toughest in the SEC. So if some guy from CBS Sports decides that the 2024 schedule is the least difficult in the SEC, well, I say hallelujah. But there is no easy schedule in the SEC. It's none. There aren't any. You don't get to play Kansas. This year Kansas
Kansas
was one
wasn't
of the
bad.
best. Yeah, they were one of the best teams. This year was the best team Kansas has had in
100 years.
decades, and Arkansas should have beaten them by 17 points, except for a bad officiating call. But they ended up beating them in overtime. But nonetheless, there's no Kansas in the SEC, and they've been just really awful. And I could probably name 2 or 3 other schools in the SEC, in the Big 12, or some other leagues that we should let us play Washington State every year or Oregon State every year. There are schools in the ACC that you could say, wouldn't it be wonderful to play those schools?
Mm-hmm.
In football, hey, Wake Forest and baseball is great, but in football, they're just, I think
they've been decent the last couple of years.
Yeah, but it's been the first time in a long time.
Yeah,
for
they
them.
go. Grobe would have been Jim Grobe would have been probably. That's been going on almost 10 years ago, I guess now, at least 5 or 6 years at the minimum. But they have made a little bit of a resurgence lately.
Yeah.
Kurt says, now we know. Okay, now we know. I need to finish, Larry.
I had to think about that. That was his whole statement.
No, now we know. I need to finish, Larry. Larry says, I guess Rick and Randy wants to play all cupcake schools. Well, there's no cupcakes, unfortunately.
Not in the league. No.
Maybe closest might be Vandy. Are you saying Arkansas will never play with the big dogs? If they replace LSU with Vandy, would you be happier? I'd love for that game, the Friday following Thanksgiving, go back to being being LSU.
Right, that's right. Which brings a point. Okay, so I had a conversation with a guy today who's a big sports fan, likes the Razorbacks, but he didn't grow up in Arkansas. And he did say, he asked me, he said, should 7-5 be a good year every year? Or do you think Arkansas should do better than that? And he said, should 7-5 be a really good year? Should 5-7 be a lousy year? And his point was, you're in a conference that's absolutely brutal. And so if you win 7 games, is that good? And I said, well, I'll just see. How would you have answered that question?
I would say it can vary now. Every year, it can vary because just take a look at this schedule this year, where your first 4 conference games are basically on the road. You could get off to a great start, win the first 3, but then lose easily 4 in a row.
Good, yeah.
And you end up 7-5 on the season. You're saying, man, just look how we had to get to this point. That's just like, all right, just look at it from this perspective. Arkansas in baseball wins, 48 games this year?
40. They didn't win 48. They won 41 or 2 or 3, somewhere in there.
I've got it over here. I can find it. But anyway, the point is they win. They share the SEC championship, but by most, and they won the SEC West outright.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But most don't think of that as being a good season.
Because they didn't advance to
because they didn't advance.
Right. Which expectations are high. Well, here's my response to him before saying how many games I thought they could win every year. I said, you got to give Frank Broyles credit for that. He established high expectations from Razorback fans. Even when Arkansas went in the SEC, and even though they weren't as good when they first went in, I think expectations have always been high because when you go back to the 60s, they beat Georgia twice in bowl games. They could compete with teams outside of their league. And if you go to the 60s, they beat, I guess they beat Georgia once in the 60s and once in the 70s in a bowl game. But, Texas and Arkansas, I think, were 2-3 in winningest programs for a whole decade. And Texas won, 3 national championships in the 60s? And Arkansas beat them 4 times, including twice when they were number 1. So these expectations were built to be very high. In football, in the SEC, if your expectation, I think it's better to have expectations that are high and be disappointed. That's why I said frequently that 9-victory season 2 years ago was absolutely remarkable when you consider what had happened the 3 years before that. So it's just astonishing. Can Arkansas win 9 every year? If you count a bowl game, I think they can. But are they going to win 10 or 11? Boy, maybe occasionally. But to expect that, I think, is a little bit high. But in basketball, you can expect to compete for the SEC championship because the facility, and you have a coach that brings in good talent every year. In baseball, Arkansas now is expected to compete for the SEC championship every year and compete nationally every year. Track is the same way. I think it's going to get that way it's that way in softball. It's getting that way in softball. I think women's soccer is starting to get that way. So it's great to have high expectations, but always remembering still only one team wins the national championship.
I'm sure you're wondering why.
No. I'm figuring it's either you got Justin Moore again or Forest City Joe called.
No.
No?
I hate to say it's better than that.
Better than that?
Better than that. Eat My Catfish
They delivered.
just showed up.
Oh my gosh.
My goodness. I think we have, I'm not sure how to describe it. It is beyond.
Okay, so
Wait a minute. What? We have a live on the moment report coming in from Eat My Catfish. I don't want to take anything away from
Randy.
Yes, sir.
You're probably confused right now.
Oh, you got to hold on. We got to take a break. Hold on. Drive Time Sports in the Buzz Radio Network. Rick Schaeffer. I'm Randy Rainwater.
Do you need me to talk for a while you?
Well,
How many pieces of catfish did you eat during that break?
I'll get to that in just one moment because I need to talk about double B's. I'm getting choked up like you do when you talk about tacos for life. But double B's, when we're talking about food options, they got a bunch of food options. It's not all just about gas it, grab it, and go. It's about Chester's Chicken. It's about the Big Rock Pizza. If you're looking for a great burger, stop by Rosebud because that is a great burger. And then you've got the hot plate lunch that is always top of the line. I love, don't you just love going to places where it's like the good old days? You get that good old home cooked meal. But then you always got to get your day started off right with the bean to cup of coffee. That is the Renoco coffee. I always get my favorite blend and then I grind it up, get it ready to go. And then I have a hot and fresh cup of Renoco coffee. Got to get the day started off right with that cup of coffee from Double B's. And then you can always look at the daily and the weekly and the monthly specials that's right there at Double B's, whether it's the 12-ounce Gatorade Fast Twitch for just $2.25 or the 20-ounce Life Water for just $1.50. That's just a couple examples of all the great monthly specials you'll find only at Double B's, where you gas it, grab it, and go make it Double B's. Rick, I've got to tell you, I'm on the email list of Eat My Catfish.
Yeah.
And I got an
nice.
email the other day, and I went bananas because it was about the fried green tomatoes salad. And Travis, I don't know if he went the extra mile or extra 2 miles or not, but what a combo plate you've got there, Travis.
I'm ready to make Rick jealous. How about you?
I am. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Hey, so yeah, we every summer we roll out the fried green tomato blackened shrimp salad, and it's got black eyed peas, some purple onions, some cheese. Of course, you've got your fried green tomato chunks and your blackened shrimp. This year we went a little different, and now you could choose between blackened fish or blackened shrimp.
Oh, my. I love shrimp. I could make a meal of shrimp every day.
Now, do you think it was right or wrong for us to put hush puppies as the crouton on here, or do you think we should have went with the traditional crouton, or the hush puppy was a good idea?
Actually, I prefer the hush puppies.
Yeah.
No, you did well there, Travis.
Okay.
You did extremely well. I also love, you mentioned the onions. There's something about, now I don't really care for onions, past football season, but between now and tailgate season, I love onions. Now, I know people don't want to be around me, but nevertheless, that to me makes a meal. And then you've got the fried green tomatoes. That is the other part that is as a great touch.
Now, have you had our fried green tomatoes before, the starter item we have?
I have not.
Okay. So we took our chunks of our green tomato relish. We bread it with a mixture of flour and cornmeal, but it's got a little bit of red pepper in there. It's our own breading. And then we deep fry those really fast and then pair it with some buttermilk ranch. So in the end, you're going to get like sweet, spicy, but they're chunks. It's not the slice. It's non-traditional. By far, my favorite starter item we have. Hands away.
I hope my wife is not in the car driving as she listens to this conversation, because
Why?
upset won't be the right word.
Well, just tell her to drive straight to.
Well, that's right. Just
station
honey,
and
stop
come on
by.
up and share.
Yeah, on your way back, go by McCain. There, right off of
Come to
McCain.
the studio. You
Now,
got it right there, right?
And here's the beautiful thing. There is now an Eat My Catfish in the Riverdale Shopping Center, which is not a stone's throw, but it's certainly on my way home. Honey, I'll stop and I'll get you your own salad.
We're neighbors now.
I love it.
Yeah. Hey, so I'm glad you mentioned that. March 31st tornado took out our Breckenridge store. We're going to rebuild it. But we were already working on this one down here. It's been open about eight or 9 days. Grand openings this coming Tuesday. Got some really good giveaways going to that day. We're going to give away an office, a catered lunch to the office, $250 value. A lot of other festivities and giveaways. Ribbon cutting at 11 a.m. Going to do the grand opening. But yeah, this store is a beautiful store. It's got a heated and cooled outdoor patio as well. And you won't believe this, but almost every single employee from Breckenridge is now working there.
That's cool.
Back at work. Yeah. They were out of work for 8 weeks. We're glad to have them back. It's pretty cool. To see them back. I mean, a lot of them were in the tornado, saving lives, and got some incredible stories out of the whole deal. But to have them back, smiling faces, just be around each other again is really, really cool.
Absolutely. All right, I got to come by and get another salad here after a while. What you close? What at 9 o'clock? I hope
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Okay.
Monday through Thursday, and 9 o'clock on Friday and Saturday.
Okay, so I got plenty of time after I leave here. Okay. Thank you, Travis.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Enjoy.
That is fantastic. That's all I can say. Okay, Rick.
Brandon, let me just say this, and I think that's wonderful. And their catfish is really good. I just got to tell you, I'm not the fried green tomato guy, but I do like their catfish. It's very good. When Tacos for Life, when we were talking about them catering and the fact that I eat there a lot, you mentioned, why don't I get any?
Yeah.
And they delivered to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I haven't heard any suggestion that Eat My Catfish could bring catfish to the Schaeffer home.
Oh, Travis is he just left the building.
It's okay.
Oh.
It's all right.
Hopefully he's listening. Hopefully.
Actually, I don't beg on the air like you do, so it's okay.
That's mine. Thank you, Joe.
So let's see, 5 minutes, and then you can enjoy another 5 minutes of eating catfish, right? They did bring you some catfish, didn't they? Not just the salad.
There's salad.
Great.
And all the trimmings that goes with it.
There's catfish too. Good.
Oh, good. Bill, he got aggravated. He hung up
because he didn't get
any. He didn't get any. All right, Steve, what's going on today?
Randy, you're making me hungry.
Son, I'm looking at it right now. I can't wait to get to it.
Rick, you don't understand. Fried green tomatoes are a Southern delicacy.
I know. But just.
And you need to eat them, buddy, because you will like them.
You think so?
Yes, sir, because I grew up on fried green tomatoes.
Okay. Well, I didn't.
Because, when I would go to my grandparents, they always had a garden. And my grandma would say, go out to the garden and get some green tomatoes because we're going to have some fried green tomatoes and peas and okra and squash and, and cornbread. And I'm getting hungry just thinking about that.
Oh, that's great.
But, last night when the schedules the conference schedules were released.
Yeah.
Florida's non-conference schedule. Did you guys see their non-conference schedule?
Well, they usually play Florida State. I didn't see the rest of them. No.
They have Florida State, Miami, and Central Florida next year.
Wow.
3 of their 4 conference games.
Non-conference. Yeah. Wow. That's a tough schedule. All those teams are very competitive. Very good.
And so Chris Doring, he's a Florida great, and he was saying there ain't no way we're going to survive at non-conference schedule.
So do you think, the athletic director, Scott Strickland, hired the new football coach. Last year was his first year. Do you think he's now trying to get rid of him?
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a schedule like that is tough. Because
I remember Nolan's last year when the basketball schedule come out, and then Nolan saw the schedule and he said, "Well, that's a fire Nolan schedule."
Well, Florida's conference schedule to go with those 3 games does include Georgia, at Tennessee, at Texas, LSU at home. So that's not a good schedule for winning a lot of games.
And they really didn't do Oklahoma and Texas no favors by
good
putting them with the
Steve-O,
teams with them. And
we
I
got to
gotta go,
go.
buddy.
Thank you, buddy. Up next, Straight Media of hogsports.com. Stay tuned. Hour number 2 at Drive Time Sports in the Buzz Radio Network. Rick Schaeffer standing by in Northwest Arkansas. I'm Randy Rainwater from the capital city. In a moment, we'll be joined by Trey Beatty of hogsports.com, being brought to you by Asher Wrecker Service. But first, I want to talk to my man, Neil Atkinson, by way of Saracens. Neil, I'm looking at the double R prop plays on Bet Saracen, and I'm thinking, gosh, I made these things too simple, too easy.
Well, that's why we play the games. We're going to see how easy they are. There are lower odds, so and also remember, in the College World Series, we've got the best of the best. So, there may be lower scoring games, and then again, somebody could drop 20 on somebody. You never know until they play the game. So we're especially proud of those prop plays for the College World Series. And the College World Series lines are up and live too, both for tomorrow and for Saturday. So check those out on the site. I think they got TCU on the money line, -180. If you want to give up 1.5 on the run line, you get positive odds at +105. In the game 2, you got Florida favored at -135 on that one against Virginia. You want to take the money line, you can get the run line. You can get positive odds on Florida at +140, but you have to give up 2 runs on that one. So a lot there. Live golf betting is available. Pick on the winner. Remember, if you're going to bet the U.S. Open, you have to bet it very, very early before they tee off in the morning. Any of the props that we put up overnight. And, of course, we've got our Arkansas teams, baseball teams, AA teams in play tonight. The track -135 against Corpus Christi Hooks. And then you got the Northwest Arkansas Naturals playing the Frisco Rough Riders. Frisco is favored in that game at -140. So there you go.
And I'm looking at the NFL season specials as an example. Regular season longest rush over 89.5 yards, -110.
What he has to do is break one on the 1 yard line and go all the way. I've seen it in the NFL many a time, so let's see what happens on that particular one. You're taking a long position on that one, so you got to wait till the season is over before that's graded. But when we introduce our bet swap marketplace, you'll have liquidity in your future bets. So make your future bets with confidence because you will have liquidity on them.
Love it. All right, Neil. BetSaracen.com. Better yet, go to the App Store and get at Bet Saracen. We will talk with you tomorrow. Thank you, Neil. And with that, let's welcome in that's a different kind of introduction there. Let's go back to this particular page. I was doing all that greeting a moment ago for Eat My Catfish, and I forgot to change back my menu. So let's do this.
Now to Trey Beatty, brought to you by Asher Wrecker Service, 501-562-2293. Family owned and operated since 1980. Asher Wrecker, dependable towing and vehicle recovery service. Ask for Asher.
I kind of like the other one. That was pretty cool, too. Good afternoon, Mr. Trey Beatty.
It's expressly written in my contract that I have the right to approve all introductions and promotions for. So don't spring any new stuff on me.
Okay. I was on the wrong page. I clicked on the area where normally your intro is located.
And I was like, this is a little more upbeat. All right, here we go.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, we're going to start today, Trey, with a phone call for you because Savage has been holding for a few minutes. So let's just start with Savage. Savage, good afternoon. You have a question or comment for Trey?
Yes, sir. Just real quick now, Rick, now that you pointed out the part of the Saracen guy, he had a lot of words that he didn't need in there because he said about 5 or 6 times. So I wish you wouldn't have pointed that out.
You've been listening for it all day, every day now, right?
Yeah, but appreciate that, Rick. You know, but Trey, when was the last time Alabama wasn't on the schedule? 91?
1991. Yeah.
All right, so when do they come back on? Are they going to provide? When do they do this schedule? As far as is it year to year? I mean, what's the turnover ratio to get Alabama back on the schedule?
They don't know if they're going to 9, but they're almost certainly going to 9 in 2025. I would expect that Alabama gets back on the schedule then, but I don't know. I don't know how they'll work it out. But I'd guess a lot of the teams that they didn't play, this year, that they'll play next year. So aside from the ones that'll be determined as the permanent rivals, but yeah.
Well, that's my point. Outside of Arkansas, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good.
No, outside the rival part of it, Arkansas doesn't have one. Mine would be Texas and LSU. Texas doesn't see us as one. LSU doesn't see it as one. We try to build one with Missouri. That'll never happen. So bringing Texas back on this schedule, and a new generation is going to, come in and see Arkansas playing Texas, and maybe get a little bit of the background of what, we've seen in the past. I mean, how do you see this rivalry, working out for Arkansas with the teams that we're playing now? And I'll get off. I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, I mean, Missouri wants Arkansas to be a rival, and Arkansas doesn't want to be Missouri's rival. And it's the other way around with Texas and LSU, like you mentioned. I mean, there's just not a natural route. With Ole Miss, a lot of people just on the surface just assume Ole Miss, Mississippi State are the big rivals, but really it's Ole Miss considers LSU its big rival, and Mississippi State is kind of an annoyance to them, so everybody's got a different idea. The way you create rivalries is to beat teams. And right now Missouri is beating Arkansas more times than not. And still Arkansas fans kind of like, just brushing it off, because it is in a way kind of, a manufactured rivalry. And Arkansas, we were used to having that LSU game, the Friday after Thanksgiving, and kind of got that taken away. And but I consider a lot of teams. I mean, you guys don't hate Auburn, LSU, Texas A&M. I mean, there's a lot. Everybody's a rival. It's just, everybody for some reason wants this, stepbrother rivalry where you hate each other and they hate you equally. And that's common in college football, but not everybody has that. But there's plenty of teams to dislike.
Trey, after you've had a chance to really look over, I guess you have maybe, but what were your takeaways from the 2024 schedule that was announced last night? And I mean, you can talk about Arkansas for sure, but then you can elaborate on all the other schools if you so choose.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of people talking about how tough Georgia's schedule is. I would advise those people to look at Georgia's schedule in 2023 because it is pretty soft. I feel like after decades of abuse, the SEC finally gave Arkansas a more manageable looking schedule. We'll see how it shakes out with, where they place each game and stuff. You certainly don't want to be one of those teams that opens the season with an SEC game when you're most likely going to be having a new quarterback and, a lot of new key players. So we'll see how the schedule is actually, shapes up by dates and stuff. Really, the only thing that we know is that Texas A&M game is going to be September 28th. So hopefully they get to open with 3 conference games before that and kind of get their quarterback ready, or a couple of conference games at least anyway, before they jump into SEC play. You like to have your tough teams at home, right? I mean, ideally, and you like to play maybe an easier opponent on the road, and that's kind of what Arkansas's got with Tennessee, Texas, Ole Miss, LSU. All those teams are in Fayetteville. None of those teams are going to be easy to beat, but you like to have them in Fayetteville versus going to Knoxville or Oxford or Baton Rouge or or Texas. And then you're at Auburn. I won't be going to that game obviously for my reasons. At Mississippi State.
Protest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Terrible press box. At Missouri, and then Texas A&M and College Station. So you only got 3 true road games. Texas A&M is the home team for that game in College Station. So, just the 3 true road games. I guess the Oklahoma State game is September 7th. So you get one game. Let's see. Look, I'm looking at the schedule now. So they got August 31st for the UAPB game. That's in Little Rock. So you've got that game. Then you got Oklahoma State. So you get one game to hopefully get a quarterback situated and ready to go before you play Oklahoma State. And then you got UAB on September 14th, then Texas A&M on September 28th. I assume this is official. I'm looking at footballschedules.com. And then you got Louisiana Tech on November 23rd, so a little bit farther down. So those are the ones that are, I guess, set in stone. But it's not a bad schedule. I mean, it's if you're a Razorback fan and, you know, I mean, the home games, that's a pretty sweet home schedule. LSU, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Texas. That's hard to beat.
Sell tickets. That'll sell tickets.
Yep. Yeah. I have plenty of people up at Big Reds before the game.
I am so glad you
You'll see
reminded
that.
me of that, Trey, just a moment
Yeah.
ago. No, what you said, footballschedules.com. I used to have that as part of my menu, and somehow it disappeared.
It's handy.
Yeah, I like it.
It lists every scheduled game that Arkansas has through 2033, and as far back as 2008, it looks like, because 2033 they have Oklahoma State scheduled. They've got 4 games, I guess, scheduled with Oklahoma State over the coming years, but hell, maybe more than that. Maybe is it 6 games with Oklahoma? I think it's 4, but they got a lot of games with Oklahoma State coming up in the future if they decide to keep them all, because there has been some talk if they go to the 9-game schedule, which again I think they will, that they might drop the out-of-conference Power 5 opponents. I really hope that they don't do that. I mean, I don't think anybody who's a fan wants to see that. You know, you don't want to see them play, you know, 3 easy non-conference opponents.
I'll just be glad when they go to 9.
Yeah. I'm anxious to see how that, I mean, when it goes to 9, then we'll have an idea for, you know, way out in the future, like what the schedules are going to look like. And should be a lot of fun. And by that time also that Texas A&M and Arlington game is over. I would assume Arkansas would get Texas A&M at home if you keep the home and away, or if they even play Texas A&M. They may not even play Texas A&M.
Just hang on to that non-conference matchup with Notre Dame. I don't care about any of the others.
Yeah, I was real disappointed when when Michigan dropped Arkansas to play Notre Dame and wasn't able to go to the big houses. I mean, I'll probably never get to a game there, you know, and you got Notre Dame coming here first, and then a trip to Notre Dame later.
Well, Trey, here's what you could do: the week Arkansas plays at Auburn, see if Michigan's at home. You could go over there.
The big house. You're going to do a
maybe
scouting report.
There you go. That's a way for you to see a game at Michigan, right?
Well, if Michigan has like a big noon kickoff or something and Arkansas is a late game, then maybe I consider that.
Scouting report.
I'm not going to not watch the Arkansas game, but
let's talk with Razorback Bob. Robert, good afternoon. You have a question or comment for Trey?
Yeah, Randy, just want to say good afternoon, all y'all.
Good afternoon to you, Robert.
The reason I said that, Randy, is my daughter, who lives in Missouri, sent me a T-shirt for Father's Day, and it simply says, and it kind of sums up what y'all been talking about. It says Arkansas across the chest, and it says versus all y'all. That's why I said good afternoon, all y'all. And that kind of sums it up. You know, one thing that I really got tired of in the Southwest Conference was every week we was playing Arkansas against somebody in Texas. But it's kind of the same thing now with the Southeast Conference. It's just they're all scattered out in different teams. And as y'all was talking, Randy, I really can't think of any teams in the Southeast Conference that I really like or care about besides Arkansas. So as far as I'm concerned, all of them's a rival, you know. But just wanted to say, Randy, just came off of a 3-week vacation.
Good for you.
3 of my stops. Yeah, three of my stops. I stopped and got my picture made with Walter Payton's statue at the Soldier Field, and got to tour the Chiefs Arrowhead Stadium, which is pretty unique. And wanted to tell you something I thought very interesting. When we went to Mile High, the guy that directed me how to find Steve Atwater's plaque there, got a picture made with him, his plaque. The guy I'm not sure what his title was, but got to talking to him, and he's become real good friends with Steve. He was telling me that Steve is the vice president of marketing for the Broncos. And I've talked to him about this subject, Randy, and in the past, it's really been kind of an issue in the NFL. But with Steve being probably, in my opinion, one of the hardest hitters in the NFL history, I asked him, I said, do you see Steve quite often? He said, yeah, we've become good friends. And I said, well, how does he seem like he's doing? Because, you know, concussions and those hard hits kind of really take a toll on people. He said, man, he said, Steve is sharp. He said he has got a sharp mind. He's doing really great.
Mm-hmm.
And health wise, he said he was doing good. So thought I'd just let you guys know that. And so I was glad to hear that, because Steve was one of my favorite Razorbacks, you know. So, but anyway, good to be back home, and good to be back in Arkansas. And there ain't no place like Arkansas, Randy. And God bless you, and enjoy your show. And I missed y'all, because I over there in Montana and Wyoming and places like that, you don't get the Drive Time Sports, you know. And I tried to get it on the app, but got chased by a buffalo, got in the truck in time, so thank goodness for that. And took a helicopter ride, so we kind of entered our wild days, I guess. So, but God bless y'all, and a lot of stuff going on with the Razorbacks, and it's all interesting. And I'm glad Trey, you bringing the information for us. God bless y'all.
Thank you, Robert.
I need about 3 weeks.
Man, have a buffalo chase you? Woo! That's my kind of fun. This from Deuce by way of our Asher Record Service Company live fan feedback. He says, do you guys think that maybe they put Texas versus A&M the last weekend, and maybe they put the Hogs and LSU back that weekend? I am hoping that is not something that is absolutely chiseled, that on the 12th game, the final game of any season, it has to end up with Missouri. If you're not going to give either A&M or LSU, which there's no guarantee, because they will not be permanent opponents as they are now, being in the Western Division together.
Rivalry week.
Yeah.
It's called rivalry week.
Yep,
Everybody
that's true.
plays.
It's chiseled. It's chiseled.
Everybody plays.
It's chiseled.
Georgia plays Georgia Tech. I mean, Florida plays Florida State. That's just how it is.
Yeah, it's chiseled. So even though you don't want it to be chiseled, it's chiseled.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dylan goes on to say Missouri leads us 9-4 all time. If you don't want them as a rival, you're not a competitor in my eyes. I can't stand Mizzou. That from Dylan.
Okay. Well, hey, for Dylan, it's a rivalry. That's great. Look, there's just something. How can I word this correctly? Missouri is one of the least glamorous teams in the SEC. Mm-hmm. And so even though they're beating Arkansas, and even though that's you want that to change, you want Arkansas to win, beating Missouri is not like beating Alabama or LSU or now Texas or Oklahoma.
No.
And so that's why it's this way. But is it frustrating to lose to them? Yes. Mm-hmm. Is it horrible to go up there and every time you go to Columbia, it's overcast and 40 degrees?
Yeah.
Yes.
And raining.
And that's because it's the last game of the year. Now, maybe if we went up there in early October, it wouldn't be that way. But Randy, I'm afraid it's chiseled, and that's not going to happen.
I know. I'm trying for wishful thinking, because really the only way that's going to happen, and I say on that where you could fix it every year, would have to be from your 3 permanent opponents. Well, if it plays out that Ole Miss, and they've already got the Egg Bowl that falls, and that's in that particular weekend, and then you look at Texas, is Texas and Texas A&M. Didn't they used to play that the day after Thanksgiving at one time?
Yeah, sometimes even Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, no, Ole Miss.
But that's Texas A&M LSU now.
Yeah.
That's true.
That'd be interesting to see if they because they could move Texas and Texas A&M to the end.
Right. That leaves LSU kind of in limbo, because LSU's again, their primary rival would probably be Ole Miss, and they kind of did
in the middle of the season.
Yeah, they kind of did and Ole Miss plays Mississippi State in rivalry week in the Egg Bowl, and they kind of created this deal with Texas A&M and LSU. So I don't know. Maybe it makes sense to move Arkansas and maybe I don't know. That's not going to happen because of the Missouri game. But I mean, I guess I would. I don't know. I would be for that if they. Because what do you do with LSU during rivalry week?
That's a
Well,
great question.
and
They play Oklahoma then?
are you going to
No,
change the
Oklahoma's probably-
tradition?
Is Oklahoma still going to play Oklahoma State non-conference? Are they going to work something out there? Or are they
No
done with
way.
that?
No, they won't.
Yeah.
play.
So maybe it's Oklahoma LSU.
Well, but you've also got the Golden Boot. I mean, you've got these trophy games. They just ignore those.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, you've got ESPN.
Well,
that's
Arkansas, Missouri's a trophy game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Texas A&M is a trophy game. I mean, they're
Yeah.
going to some of them are going to be dropped, but I think that what makes sense is LSU Oklahoma, that rivalry weekend.
wow. They really they need to move the Red River that last weekend, Oklahoma, Texas. All right, Trey, we will talk with you tomorrow. That is Trey Biddy of hogsports.com being brought to you by Asher Wrecker Service. Drive Time Sports on the Buzz Radio Network. Rick Schaeffer. I'm Randy Rainwater. I'll read the complaint section here in a moment.
The complaint section?
Complaint section, yes.
Okay.
But
They didn't get to eat my catfish?
no, I didn't come from Eat My Catfish. I got it. Never mind. I do want to talk about the dinner for two for $60 from the Riverfront Steakhouse in North Little Rock. Man, I'm looking at that salad from Eat My Catfish, and I'm thinking the Riverfront Salad Bar, there's going to be one for you and one for your significant other or friend, whoever it may be. This is the largest salad bar in North America. It includes over 30 items, including baby shrimp. I'm looking at that blackened shrimp over there. Iceberg and romaine lettuce, spinach, pastas, and a variety of dressings. It is, it is a fabulous layout that they have banned several of my friends, starting with Kevin Bohannon, because when Kevin goes through one time, they automatically have to bring back out others to fill it back up because he's cleaned it out. Then you get the entree. And I have had some ask, there's no way that 5 ounces of a filet is going to fill me up. Try it. You will be amazed because there have been times I have to take it home. Yeah, because it's more than I can eat. Because you're going to combine that with 4, count them 4, which we always get 4 more in addition to that, of the double F fried shrimp. Now that is wrist to the end of your fingertips. And then you get to pick 2 side items. And as David likes to call it, the canoe baked potato, as big as a canoe. I think it's as big as an NFL football. Onion rings, mashed potatoes, hibachi fried rice with chicken, spinach supreme, French fries, zucchini, fresh wild mushrooms. Folks, that's just $60. That is just $60. Make your reservation now, whether it be for tonight, tomorrow night, or Saturday night. It is the Riverfront Steakhouse in North Little Rock, 371-9000. As for William or Shapur, service is going to be fantastic. Can't do any better than the Riverfront Steakhouse in the Wyndham Hotel in North Little Rock. This from our First Arkansas Bank and Trust. Buzz text line. Okay, let's see. Yes, sir. Give me the paddle.
Paddle?
That's, I guess, talking about the baked potato.
Oh.
David's talking about as big as a
okay,
canoe.
Yeah.
Well, dig in with 2 paddles, Randy. Okay, that's better. Let's see. Also from the Buzz text line, give Oklahoma, Missouri, and Arkansas LSU. I'd like that. I don't think it's going to happen.
No. But you think Oklahoma and Missouri were in the same league for a long time. You know, Trey was talking about Oklahoma and LSU maybe, but Oklahoma and Missouri were in the Big 8 and then the Big 12 together for 60 or 70 years. So that's a thought.
This from the complaint from Frank from the complaint department.
Yeah.
Please allow Trey Beatty more airtime than your callers. Let the callers leave a question with the screener so they can't ramble for 5 minutes on air. I listen to hear y'all and Trey talk about the Razorbacks, not the caller. Thanks, Frank. Enough. Please don't let people rattle on while Trey is on the air. That is stupid, stupid, stupid. Why can't y'all learn anything over the years? Wasting talent. Sorry, my name is Frank, and I've complained for years about managing your talent and time.
Well, speaking of managing talent, is Chris Turnage not on tonight?
No, he's not.
He's not. Okay.
No, we're not managing his
We like
talent. Yeah.
we like his talent to work out well. So
Need to limit questions to 30 seconds when Trey is on. No one wants to hear what about someone else's vacation. Ha ha.
you know, nobody complains when they talk longer than 30 seconds when you and I are on. do they?
No, they
But when
don't.
Trey Biddy's on, wow. Okay.
And the one that I got a few minutes ago. Don't forget the recruiting. We want to hear more recruiting when Trey is on.
And then Trey says, "That's
Says, "I don't
Danny
do
West.
recruiting." That's right.
Danny knows about recruiting." Oh, then we don't need to ask Trey about recruiting, do we? Let's hear Trey. That came from the 501. And then from Jimmy and Roland, Jimmy, Jimmy. This guy is wasting Trey's segment. Okay. Rivalry schedule. This from the 870. Let Texas and Oklahoma keep their date at the fair. I think LSU and A&M will stay Thanksgiving week as a peace offering to A&M for letting Texas into the league. Let Texas and A&M play each other the first league game of the year. Move Arkansas, Missouri to the first league game of the year. Hogs will be properly motivated with an entire season still on the line and hopefully fully healthy. Then have Arkansas, Texas as the Thanksgiving week game. This would pacify the Arkansas fans mad at having the LSU game taken away and not being a permanent rival. Missouri can play Oklahoma Thanksgiving week. They were rumored to be one of the permanent opponents. I figured Missouri, Oklahoma have played more than Missouri, Arkansas.
Definitely. Yeah. Okay. That's a good idea. Arkansas, Texas on Thanksgiving is not a good idea. It was a mid-October game every year, other than the very few years when ABC moved the game to December, which they did in 1969 and again in 70, and they moved it to the first game of the year in 1980, so it would kick off ABC's coverage of college football that year. Other than that, it was always mid-October. So the game 2 years ago was in September, and that's okay. But you don't want to play it. That shouldn't be the last game of the year. And besides, Texas wouldn't want that. Again, and just like their game with Oklahoma. Used to be Texas played Oklahoma one week and Arkansas the next. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but nonetheless, for Texas, as we mentioned earlier, Texas and A&M usually played at the end of the year. That probably won't be the case. And did you notice also in Texas A&M schedule that the first time they play Texas, it is at College Station? That had to happen. Had to happen. If they'd have put Texas A&M at Texas the first year that they're in the league, I think that would have angered a lot.
Been a slap in the face, yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
And, the other thing that Trey mentioned was Arkansas not playing Alabama in 2024. They may not play in 2025. Because even when they go to 9 games, if you have your 3 regular teams, and that's Ole Miss, say it is Ole Miss and Missouri and Texas, then in 2025, what if the other 6 are not Alabama? That's a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
So Arkansas could actually go 2 years in a row without playing Alabama.
Because the way that I understood it, you're going to play them home and home.
Right.
So
over a 4-year series.
Yeah, over a 4-year period. But what's
Mm-hmm.
to say they won't do it back to back, though? Where you play that team in 2025 and then you turn around and play them on the road the next year in 2026 at their place.
Could. That's the way the Big Ten's setting it up. Oh, no, that's not going to happen because the SEC is going to, I think they'll rotate them. In other words, the 6 teams that you play one year, you'll play the other 6 the next, and then back to the first 6 and then back to the second 6. So whereas the Big Ten is going to do exactly what you're talking about. They have 3 permanent games. They'll play 9 conference games, but they'll play. So you'll go 2 years without playing somebody, and then you'll go back to back. You will play them 2 years in a row. That's the way they're setting it up.
From our First Arkansas Bank and Trust Buzz text line, Luke in Fordyce says 4 minutes and 14 seconds. I didn't realize you were timing it. That's how long Trey was heard. 4 minutes and 14 of a 30-minute segment. Do better. Well, first of all, that segment is 23 minutes.
It's hard to believe
long.
Trey only talked 4.5 minutes during that
Yeah,
time.
that
Yeah.
segment is only 23 minutes
Yeah.
in length. And that's the way all the segments are coming out of the top of the hour. So I don't think that's quite precise. 4 minutes and 14 seconds. You might want to check your stopwatch. It may have stopped up.
Wow. You know, it's great to have people that listen. That
I know.
close.
Isn't that great? I think it's great.
Yeah. No
Let's
doubt.
talk to Ro. Ro, good afternoon.
Hey, what's going on, gentlemen?
What's up, buddy?
Not much. I just hopped in the rig. I'm getting ready to head to football practice, and I see you reading off a bunch of complaints. I don't know who it is, but I got a good idea. But yeah, somebody's name who rhymes with Eve. But anyway, guys, I was just calling in and tell everybody, take a deep breath. It's okay. You know, you do have the option to turn it down a little bit while that certain person is on. Some of us do that, but that's all I wanted to contribute today.
Thank you,
All
Ro.
right, Ro. Thanks. Enjoy practice.
Yeah. Plenty of Gatorade.
Football practice in June.
Plenty of
It's a
Gatorade.
year-round sport. That's okay.
All right. I may have to put JoJo on hold, but we'll just have to wait and see. JoJo, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hey, Rick, when back in the day when Texas A&M used to have that traditional bonfire, wasn't it them in Texas playing around Thanksgiving?
Yes.
So why not move those two to Thanksgiving and put Arkansas and LSU back at the Friday after Thanksgiving?
We would love to see that happen. Absolutely would love to see that happen. But I don't think it will because they've tried too hard to make Arkansas-Missouri a rivalry.
But that can't happen every year, though, JoJo, because they would not be the permanent opponent of Arkansas.
Oh, that's a good point.
One of the three.
Yeah, good point.
Well, every other year then. How about that?
I'm not sure you'd even get that to happen. Thank you, JoJo.
Yeah, that's a good point, Randy. We'd all get excited about that, but LSU would have to be a permanent rival for Arkansas.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And that's probably not going to happen. It'd be okay. So you could have LSU instead of Ole Miss, but that would alter all of their plans. So they're not going to do that.
From our First Arkansas Bank and Trust Buzz text line, this came from Texas Steve. He said, let's get this straight. Texas A&M didn't let Texas into the SEC. They got in because they're Texas.
Yeah, and they were Texas in 1992 when they were invited to come in, and they didn't. Or 1990 for 1992, and they were Texas when A&M came in and were invited in and didn't come in then either.
I got to send all these to Trey. I want Trey to feel really good. Know how much he is loved and appreciated. Rick Schaeffer. I'm Randy Rainwater. Drive Time Sports will continue in a moment. Need some cash for home improvements? You realize you might have that cash sitting there right in your current home. Values have increased over the last couple of years. Check out the home equity line of credit from First Security Bank. You'll get a low rate, great service, and you can use the funds for home improvements, debt consolidation, vacation, college tuition, and more. That's the beauty of the equity that you have in your home. Use it for what you may need, or maybe what you want. Maybe you want to upgrade your vehicle. Now's a great time to check into a home equity line of credit from First Security Bank. Over 78 banking centers waiting to serve you. Stop by and check it out for yourself, and you'll find out that you may have more cash in your home than you ever dreamed. That's First Security Bank. Member FDIC, equal housing lender, only in Arkansas. That's First Security Bank. Let's see from our Asher Record Service Company live fan feedback. Wild Bill says FBS schedules. They have Arkansas scheduled for 13 games in 2024. Last time I checked, I didn't think you could have 13 games unless it's a bowl game.
How they did that? They should have 8 conference games and then 4 non-conference games. The 4 non-conference games are UAPB at Oklahoma State, Kent State, and Louisiana Tech. So why would they have 13 games on there? They're already assuming a bowl. That's great.
Yeah. Jump all over that. This from
Randy, during the break, I was reading a story of interest, major interest. I missed this yesterday. I've only seen it one place, and I'm reading it right now. The IRS has ruled that collectives for athletic departments are not charitable organizations, and gifts to collectives are not tax deductible. That is a pretty major thing. Now, there are a lot of schools that don't have a collective set up as a tax deductible. In other words, you're giving and it's going to the athlete, but that's their point. If an organization supports education, that's one thing, but this is not supporting education. It's supporting paying athletes. So I don't know how far where it's going to go, but this was an IRS decision that was made on Tuesday, and that could have significant impact on collegiate athletics. Because, as we mentioned earlier, Texas A&M, the 12th Man Plus Fund was going to be strictly for paying athletes, and you were going to not only get 100% tax deductible, you were also going to get benefits to your seating plan and your previous contributions and things like that. It'd be like giving money to a collective that also went into the Razorback Foundation and gave you better seats. That's what they're doing at A&M. That is now, the IRS has thrown that one out the window. So that's a pretty big deal.
When is this effective now?
I'm not sure. There's some, it says some organizations may have their charitable status revoked because several of them have it right now, like Clemson. They mentioned Clemson and a couple others. Others may lose it retroactively. Anyway, these are tax lawyers. So I don't know. There's no timetable here. Collective that loses charity status. Again, there's in the story, and again, this is in a publication from yesterday that I was reading, and there's no time set on this, other than if they made that ruling, if the IRS set that as an established policy, then doesn't it go into effect right away?
That's what I'm wondering. I mean, It's not retroactive.
Yeah, it does. Okay, here's collectives threatened with losing their tax exempt status could also challenge the IRS in court. And then here's a law professor at the University of Pittsburgh said that if that did happen, said the government would probably win such a case based on the clear laws of what it is allowed to be a charity. I mean, let's face it, it's not a charity. Now, they can say they're doing charitable work, but they're being paid. So, if a charity hires an athlete or hires anybody, say, okay, we want you to sign autographs here and we're going to pay you to do it. That has nothing to do with the charity. They're paying them to, they're paying them to do something. So it'd be the same thing with an athlete. And I think that's the way the collective was set up at the University of Arkansas, is these guys are supposed to do nice deeds. But if you get paid to do a nice deed, that's not charitable work, correct? That's what the IRS is ruling. So that's a again, since we talk about the NIL so frequently, it's a transfer portal and everything else. This is a pretty major announcement, I think. And I missed it until just now. And evidently this is a ruling that was made on Tuesday.
So where did you see that?
The Wall Street Journal.
Oh, okay. Because I started saying I've looked at ESPN, I've looked at all the sites, and that in doing show prep today, I didn't see anything announcing that.
Well, I'm a day behind reading it, and it's a front page story. IRS curbs college athletics tax break.
So what is going to happen?
Announced in a 12-page legal memo.
All these coaches and athletic directors that made that little journey to Congress may not have to worry about it now if the IRS is basically taking away this tax exemption from collectives, because isn't that pretty much, if you don't have a collective, the way I'm understanding how all this is working, if you don't have a collective, you're probably not going to be in the game.
Yeah, that's right.
Especially for the big time players, because the amount of money it's going to take to get those big time players the NIL deals that they're looking for.
Well, let's put it this way. Schools that were cheating in the past, those that were cheating did not get tax deductions for giving money to players.
No, they didn't
play to their school. So I don't know that it's going to change anything, except, again, you don't get a tax break. Is it still worth it to you to get the best linebacker to come to your school? That's or to reward a linebacker for being at your school. Because if you don't reward the linebacker, he'll go to another school. So is it worth it to you? That's the question.
Well, again, if you're getting a tax break for it as it is now, then you're probably going to get more participation from your fan base than you would if you don't, because now you're back to making the decision from a possible donor standpoint. Do I give to the foundation, or do I give to maybe not the collective?
Right. Yeah. Well, you could still, the collective would still operate.
Yeah, but I'm saying,
but
without the tax,
not tax deductible.
Yeah.
Right. So when you go to the movies, you don't get a tax deduction. When you buy your tickets to the games, you don't get a tax deduction. You do get a tax deduction for your contribution to get the seats, but you don't get a contribution for your buying the tickets. So that's kind of the way it would be if you want to contribute to the foundation so that you can get better seats, to help build facilities, to do all the things the foundation does, help coaches' salaries. You do that. And then if you want to contribute to the players that are on campus, then you give to the collective, but you get a tax deduction for one, but not for the other.
By the way, real quick, coming up next, Bart Reed, Pure Sweat Basketball Skills. The Oklahoma president says game day experience has to be bigger and better with the move to the SEC. Right. All right. Hour number 3, straight ahead. Hour number 3 of Drive Time Sports in the Buzz Radio Network. Rick Schaeffer standing by in Northwest Arkansas. I'm Randy Rainwater from the capital city.
It's time for the Basketball Insider in Arkansas. It's pure sweats, skills, and trainings. Bart Reed, made possible by Martin Orthopedics, with locations in Little Rock, North Little Rock, Cabot, and Hot Springs Village, staffed with fellowship-trained orthopedic surgeons and sports medicine specialists. For more information on the web, go to martinortho.care. Now, here's Bart.
Good afternoon, Bart.
Hello, gentlemen. How's it going?
Doing great. Let's start you off with this. I just got moments ago from Little Rock basketball. That is Little Rock head basketball coach Darrell Walker announced the signing of Jalen Crocker Johnson to a national letter of intent. 6'7", 195-pound forward, recently graduated from Warren High School in San Antonio, Texas, where he left as the program's all-time leading scorer and rebounder. He was a 3-star recruit, according to ESPN, and was twice named his district's MVP. So nice add-on, it sounds like, for Darrell Walker and the Trojans.
And listen, Coach Walker has done a great job, but really, Randy's almost had to refill the whole roster.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's gotten some quality players, Jalen, and then of course Corliss Williamson's son, Creed Williamson, and that's a really great pickup for them. And Creed is by far the youngest person on the roster, so he decided to go to a route where he's mixing in some veteran players, grad transfers and some transfers that give them the stability and strength of a body right away that can compete, and then 2 high school players such as Jalen and Creed kind of balance it out, and they're going to win basketball games, Randy. Coach Walker's done a really great job at UALR.
That is a nice add-on. Let's talk with Danny. Danny, never mind, Danny. Okay, we have a question for you by way of our Asher Record Service Company live fan feedback, and I hope I can read this and make it make sense. Okay. Jim says, can Bart tell us from last year's roster on the inside the spots or roles that will be hard to fill with this current year makeup? So again, last year's roster on the inside, the spots or roles that would be hard to fill with this year's current year makeup.
This is going to sound crazy because he played limited minutes, but Kamani Johnson is the one guy that I feel like came in the game and was an automatic boost of energy and physicality that Randy was almost a production machine for the limited amount of minutes he was in. He was always around the basketball, rebounds, steals, block shots, putbacks. He just had such a high energy level, and he was so physical for his size. He played well above his height of 6'7", 6'8", but certainly I think that is a spot, even though it's a limited spot. I think that is a spot on the interior that the way the current roster is made up, that I think is a hard spot to fill.
Because there's no real physical presence, at least on this roster, is there? Is there a guy that,
no,
you hate to ever use the word enforcer, but a guy that's going to go out there and say, I'm going to show you we can be physical too? Is there anybody on the roster like that now?
Well, Davenport is that guy.
Is he? Okay.
Yes, he is. He's kind of got the, I compared him to kind of Kenyon Martin type of little nasty streak in him, and he's got a lot of physicality. So we don't have someone that we to reference from last year that was on the roster, but I think certainly somebody that's coming in. And even though that he's smaller, guys, Trayvon Mark is that guy too. He's a much perimeter player, of course, on the wing, but he's got that toughness and physicality where he plays well above his size on the defensive end. So he'll play much bigger than his size shows at 6'4", 6'5".
Actually, they show Mark, at least on this roster that's from hogsports.com, they've got Tremont Mark at 6'6", and Jermaine Davenport at 6'6". Davenport 215, which sounds a little light, and Mark, he's really light, 6'6", 185.
Yep, but excellent. Both of them are excellent defenders, Randy. And I wouldn't argue with what they've got out, but Davenport looks bigger than 215 to me. Of course, that's I guess if you're looking at 6'6" and a half, 215 versus, let's say, they fall at 6'8" or 6'9", 205. You know, 6'6", 215 is it is not heavy, but it's certainly enough where you could see it would be described as a college-ready type body. But certainly, Trayvon Mark's physicality at that size is really, really, really remarkable because he plays extremely physical on the defensive end.
Well, to me, Bart, Kamani was the perfect banger. 6'6" to 6'8", whatever he was, 6'7", probably went at least 225, if not 235. But he was put together. He was a banger. I mean, the only thing that's missing from that guy's game was his offense. If he could have had even a mid-range jumper that you could have depended upon. I mean, everyone now wants to use the term, he's got the dog in him. He had the dog in him. And
he had the dog. He's the definition of a dog, Randy.
And would love to bang with the best of them. But just that limited range, well, you called it putbacks, but that's about the equivalency of what he really had to offer was tip ins and because it was, you just didn't know what to expect once he went even to the free throw line, whether or not he was even a 50% free throw shooter on a consistent basis.
And I think that's why Jalen Graham, guys, if you want to look at, I know it's not a role, but if you want to look at an X factor for a guy, if they could swap some talents and skill set, if Jalen Graham had that dog with his skill set, he would be a top 10 NBA draft pick. He's that talented. And I'm seeing reports that he's gotten heavier, gotten stronger. And so I think one person to really watch, especially early on, is to see what Jalen Graham, if his disposition kind of changes and he begins to compete a little bit harder on the defensive end, plays a little stronger, that's someone where you could, if he could get there on the defensive end, you could really upgrade because his skill set's so high.
From a coaching perspective, I'll let you try to read the mind of Coach Muss in regards to his set down with Jalen Graham at the end of the season. What do you think he told him, not just to get minutes, but to possibly just come back and be on scholarship? I got to believe he threw the gauntlet down with him.
I would say that you're right. I think I think the conversation probably went, Coach Muss explained, Jalen Graham is as talented of a 6'8", 6'9" big guy that I've seen in a long time. I say big guy meaning length and playing what I would call a 3 or a 4 type position. But his offensive skill was enough that I think just kept Coach Musselman and the staff intrigued of what he could be. But I think he laid it down for him and said, look, if your current level of defense and competitive drive stays where it is, your minutes are going to stay where it was last year. We're not promising you any more minutes. So you're going to have to come in here and transform yourself. But I guarantee you guys, he said, if you give me, and I don't know what the analytics would be, but he probably put a hard number behind it. If you can give me 5 rebounds a game and 2 block shots, because he has the length to be a rim protector now, a perimeter rim protector, but a rim protector nonetheless. If you give me 5 rebounds, 2 blocks, or 2 steals a game, I'm going to get you enough minutes where you can get double-digit points, because Jalen Graham can put the ball in the basket. He's got some of the most incredible touch I've seen in a long time out of a college basketball player. So it is basically, you give me something on the defensive end, I give you minutes to score consistently on the court.
Well, they've got him up to 6'10" for what it's worth on the current roster. So, again,
He's got the tools.
Davenport 6'6", 215. Makai Mitchell still 6'10", 240. Tremont Mark 6'6", 185. Jalen Graham 6'10", 220. So I do believe he's put a little bit of bulk on. Bay Fall 6'10", 210. Gosh, when you look at that, and we think of Bay Fall is needing to do nothing but stay in the training room and the in the food line, and there's only a 10-pound difference there, and they're both at the same height.
Yeah, and that's a slight 210, guys. I've seen him. If you look at Khalil Ware, which was probably somebody we'd have loved to have in the portal. Khalil was really slight, but his legs and base were so strong. And it was really, a lot of people didn't notice it because they were looking at his upper body. But his bottom half was so strong and he was so physical. Bayfall is one of those, he's thin both top and bottom. And so he really does need to focus on the weight room immediately.
And the training table. He needs to
that's right.
Eat right. But I'm sure they'll give him liberty with a lot of calories. So drink some of those milkshakes. See if they can't put a little bit of weight on you.
That's right. That's right.
Leighton Blocker, 6'2", 180. Joseph Pinion, 6'5", 195. Devo Davis, 6'4", 185. Boy, that looks misleading. Devo looks bigger than 185 to me.
Way bigger. That's another one of those Davenport. Davenport looks way bigger, and I promise you, Devo Davis, what do you think, Randy? Rick, 200, 195, 200?
Yeah. I'd say 200,
yeah, certainly. Really physical. And Leighton Blocker is going to be the most physical freshman that we have seen come through, true freshmen come through the program in a long time. Leighton is extremely fit. He's got wide shoulders, plays extremely strong, and really up-tempo can guard. So I think Razorback fans are going to be really pleased. And I've had a chance to spend a ton of time in the gym with Leighton. He's just continued to develop, but he works really hard on his fitness and being prepared both mentally and physically. I think he is going to wow Arkansas Razorback fans with his physicality and burst of speed in the open court.
I think he's a throwback to Corey Beck.
Yes.
From what video I have seen of Leighton, he looks like a throwback. He can score, but he's not a scorer. But it was kind of like Corey was. Corey wasn't a noted scorer, but he could score. But boy, he was the master at the hand check, body check. I think Leighton Blocker's got a chance to do the same thing.
I agree, Randy. I'm not been a big fan of the prep school route, but I think Leighton was a great player before. I think it really helped him going to Sunrise and getting that exposure on the national stage where week in and week out he was getting challenged. I think it really made a big difference in his game.
That's a good point because it's going to be a step above in most cases than your average high school. So that's a good point. Ellis is 6'3", 180. Now these guys, you may have had a chance to see. I can't remember this past year, particularly when Arkansas played Louisville out in Maui. They were so bad. We probably turned it off about halfway through because the game was over by halftime.
Well, they were bad.
Yeah.
They were a bad team. Yeah. What they win 4 games, something like
that. Yeah.
They were awful.
He averaged about 18, but I don't remember Ellis in his game against Arkansas. Trayvon Brazil, 6'10", 220. He's put together for
He-
220.
That's misleading too, guys, because either that's misleading or he just looks big because his shoulders are wide. It looks like that he's put on a lot of weight. I would say that he's probably closer to 235, 240.
It's been said almost every roster that you ever see at the collegiate level, just as the NBA, I think they had Anthony Black, 6'6" and 3/4 in his bare feet, and then 6'7" once he put the shoes on. But that surprises me that Arkansas would underscale on the other side. On the other hand, the weight of a player. I can see fudging a little bit here and there on the height, but not on the weight. What would be the advantage? Well, I guess it could depend upon when they weighed them.
That's exactly right. I was just about to say, Randy, because I don't remember weighing any time in college except the first day I got there. So if that's something that they guesstimate or just don't do it that often, because Trayvon Brazil is one of those like Ware. He's got a bigger lower half and he's got really wide shoulders. Guys with a bigger frame like that can put on weight in a hurry. So it might be just, Randy, they're just not looking at weight that often or taking it.
Got you. Well, I know they upgraded size-wise on Graham because he was formerly listed at 6'9", and they bumped him up to 6'10". And then Keon Minifield, 6'1". Wow. 150?
But he is an
6'1",
offensive
150?
machine.
Holy
He's an
smokes.
offensive machine. Guys, he could be the best one out of that group, and I say could be. I think he is all around. Man, the guy can flat out score and score in a hurry. So these droughts where we would go through and not have a shooter, this guy can off the dribble, catch and shoot, finish for a guy that's slight, finishes really well, gets into contact, knocks down free throws. He's an all-around offensive weapon.
Wow. I would think he needs to put on a little bit of weight, though, Bart.
Yes, he does.
It's going to be hard to believe at 150 he can finish around the rim. Khalif Battle, 6'5", 185.
Yeah. And to your point, Randy, the SEC is not like the West Coast. I have a lot of respect for the West Coast. The SEC basketball is as physical as you're going to get, just like Big East basketball. So Minifield's going to have to finish against quality guards in the SEC. He's going to have to bulk up and add some weight, certainly, because I think the best guards in the country from a physicality standpoint are no doubt in the SEC.
Yeah. I think of all the guards that Arkansas has had recently. I can't remember a guard this size, 150 pounds.
Yeah.
That's that's rather small.
He's small.
Bart, the attention in some regards, has it moved from the 2024s to the 2025s? Has Arkansas begun to turn the page, so to speak?
They have, but they're still really focused on the 2024s because there is so much talent out there. So they're eyeing from 2024 perspective. Of course, Honor Boateng just got back, so he's been to several camps, but he just got back from Italy or is coming back today as part of that Adidas Euro camp that they haven't done it in I think 5 or 6 years. But I'm hearing reports when you come back and the experts are saying the draft ready players that Honor Boateng was in the top 3 players out in that Euro camp. He absolutely dominated from a physicality standpoint, averaged 10 points a game, right at 6 or 7 rebounds, but his ability to play multiple roles is something that Coach Musselman and them, I think they feel like they have to have, because this is a young man that's 6'5", He's 210, I would say, right now, and hadn't lifted a weight. He's
Mm.
just a credible, freakish, athletic talent. And then Trey Johnson is an Oklahoma City guy that plays right next door, who's the number one player in that 2024 class at the guard. Randy, that's a little bit different, kind of a throwback guy, likes the mid-range game. Probably one of the best mid-range games I've seen in a long time. Would take a mid-range before he'd take a catch-and-shoot three, but he's big and he's physical. And I think until they lock down one of those two, they're still very much focused on that 2024, even though they are certainly looking hard at the 2025. And Terrion Burgess went to that Euro camp as well. Randy, it was also listed as one of the immediate draft eligible guys. You see, I think he was the youngest guy on the roster and performed extremely well against much older players.
All right, Bart, hang on. We got some more questions for you, if you can. That is Bart Reed. Pure Sweat basketball skills, thanks to Martin Orthopedics, Rick Schaeffer. I'm Randy Rainwater. Drive Time Sports will continue in just one moment. Drive Time Sports here on the Buzz Radio Network. Rick Schaeffer. I'm Randy Rainwater.
It's time for the basketball insider in Arkansas. It's pure sweats, skills, and trainings. Bart Reed, made possible by Martin Orthopedics, with locations in Little Rock, North Little Rock, Cabot, and Hot Springs Village, staffed with fellowship-trained orthopedic surgeons and sports medicine specialists. For more information on the web, go to martinortho.care. Now, here's Bart.
All right, Bart, I've got two different questions to ask you by way. Well, we'll start with the Asher Wrecker Service. Company life and feedback, and I think you kind of answered this, but maybe not specifically about what Ball Hog is asking. So he says, Honor and Terrion, can Bart update us on how they did on the Adidas USA team?
Okay. Yeah. So that's the USA, the Euro Select team. So as I mentioned, so Honor went out there and played extremely well. So I said over 10 points. So he was exactly 7.3 points a game. And here's the key thing for Honor. This has been his question mark. You went 6 for 13 from the 3-point line. Okay. That's shooting the ball at an extremely high clip for a guy that had a lot of question marks about his shot 2 to 3 years ago. So that just shows right there how well-rounded this young man has become, really working on his game. But the experts say he is one of the top 5 players there, hands down, by far, and the best, Randy Rick, the best two-way player. So combined offense and defense, Honor Boateng stole the show. And again, when you're looking at Terrion Burgess, he's so young out there, being a 2025 and going playing against in Italy with a lot of the European talent. These are much older players. So he scored, I think, out of 3 games, I think he scored 8 points in two of the 3 games, and certainly held his own defensively and hit several shots mid-range, showing great touch, close to the 3-point line, and knocked down his free throws. So Terrion Burgess and Honor Boateng both, I would say, had a wow when they was in Italy this past week.
Now, is both 4 stars, or has Honor gotten some 5-star attention?
No, Honor's 5-star attention. Honor is 5-star attention. So Honor got 5-star. He got the when you do the cumulative, it's right at a 4, but he got 5-star attention, I think, midway through last season, Randy. And of course, when he got the Gatorade Player of the Year for the state, that kind of has really catapulted him into a summer that has been really, really outstanding as we talk about blowing up, because he blew up last year. He's really blowing up this year. So I would say when you look at it, and I have to correct myself, I said Trey Johnson is from Oklahoma. He's actually from Texas, but he plays for Team Durant on the EYBL is why I said Oklahoma. Certainly, I think those two could very well, when it's said and done, be the top guards after this season, the top guards, and both of them make the McDonald's All-American game. That's how great of a summer Honor Boateng's having.
Pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. I love Terrion's game, and I think he's only going to get bigger and better as he continues to mature and fill out.
That's right.
Yes. This from our First Arkansas Bank and Trust Buzz text line from the 903. What does your expert say about Darian Ford? Why did he leave? Not a D1 player, or was it just too much talent on the roster and couldn't get enough minutes? And how is Penyon? Does that mean, is that supposed to mean Kenyon?
No, he's talking about Pinion, probably.
Ah, yeah, Joseph Pinion. Yeah, going to get any minutes.
Well, I think So Darian Ford, listen, Darian Ford is 100% a D1 player. There's no doubt about it. In fact, when he got minutes, he was extremely productive in those minutes, and we've talked about this at length. It gets to be a point where these young men and the young ladies out there, they have individual goals. So there's certainly not enough minutes, or this past season, not enough for D Ford to stay at Arkansas. So he makes the choice to go to Arkansas State. Arkansas State is not a slouch mid-major program. That's an extremely storied program with a lot of success that plays at a really high level. So that is not a step down in terms of what most people would think. That's really high-quality basketball at the mid-major level. And so there's great basketball players all throughout college basketball, Division I, Division